Nobody paid attention to Kenneth "Kenny" Rodriguez, except to complain about his careful driving and slow reflexes. The kids thought he was just another old man counting down to retirement. Then the school bus flipped on an icy road, and this quiet driver's Vietnam training kicked in, saving 32 children with tactical skills that shocked everyone who had underestimated him for years. Welcome to the untold stories where heroes hide behind steering wheels. Before we dive into this incredible story of hidden courage and forgotten valor, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this about our veterans deserve to be shared with the world, hit that subscribe button right now. These are the tales that remind us the bravest warriors often wear the most ordinary uniforms, protecting our children when we least expect danger to strike. Before we dive into this incredible story of hidden courage and forgotten valor, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this about our veterans deserve to be shared with the world, hit that subscribe button right now. These are the tales that remind us the bravest warriors often wear the most ordinary uniforms, protecting our children when we least expect danger to strike. Before we dive into this incredible story of hidden courage and forgotten valor, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this about our veterans deserve to be shared with the world, hit that subscribe button right now. These are the tales that remind us the bravest warriors often wear the most ordinary uniforms, protecting our children when we least expect danger to strike. Teachers and parents often complained that Kenny took too long on his routes, that he was overly cautious about weather conditions, and that maybe it was time for him to retire and let a younger driver take over. They didn't understand why he would sit in his bus for several minutes after each route, just staring straight ahead as if reliving memories that nobody else could see or comprehend. What none of them knew was that Kenneth Rodriguez carried more than just a commercial driver's license in his wallet. Hidden beneath insurance papers and route schedules in his glove compartment was a Bronze Star Medal with V device for valor, earned during the Vietnam War when he was just 19 years old. It was a decoration that represented courage under fire that most people would never understand. Kenny never talked about his military service, never mentioned the medal, never explained why certain sounds made him tense, or why he planned every route with the tactical awareness of someone trained for combat. He had learned long ago that most people weren't interested in war stories from an aging bus driver, and he preferred to let his service speak through his actions rather than his words. The Bronze Star had been awarded for actions during a mission in 1971 when Private Rodriguez had single-handedly evacuated 12 wounded soldiers from a disabled transport vehicle under heavy enemy fire. He had made multiple trips through a killing zone, carrying men who outweighed him, while bullets whistled overhead and mortar rounds exploded around him, refusing to leave anyone behind. That 19-year-old soldier had learned lessons about responsibility, courage, and protecting those who couldn't protect themselves that had shaped every day of the next 50 years. Kenny understood that being a hero wasn't about recognition or glory. It was about doing what needed to be done when other people were counting on you, regardless of the personal cost or danger involved. For 18 years, Kenny had applied those same principles to driving school bus number 47, treating every child as if they were his own family members, checking every safety system as if lives depended on it, because they did. He drove defensively, not because he was scared, but because he understood that complacency in dangerous situations was the enemy of everyone who trusted him to bring them home safely. Monday morning, December 14th, started with weather warnings that Kenny had been monitoring since 5 a.m. A winter storm was moving through the region, bringing freezing rain that would create hazardous driving conditions throughout the school district. Many drivers had already called in sick, but Kenny knew that his kids would be waiting at their bus stops, counting on him to get them to school safely. Kenny performed his pre-trip inspection even more carefully than usual, checking tire tread, testing brakes multiple times, and ensuring that emergency equipment was accessible and functional. The weather conditions reminded him of dangerous situations he had faced in Vietnam, where preparation and attention to detail had meant the difference between life and death for himself and his fellow soldiers. The first half of Kenny's route proceeded without incident, though he noticed that the road conditions were deteriorating rapidly as the freezing rain continued to accumulate on pavement that had been warm just hours earlier. He reduced his speed even further than usual, ignored the complaints from kids who were worried about being late, and focused on maintaining control of the heavy vehicle. By 7:45 a.m., Kenny had picked up 32 children ranging in age from 6 to 11 years old. They were chattering excitedly about the possibility of school being canceled due to weather, completely unaware that their driver was calculating stopping distances and escape routes with the tactical awareness of someone who had learned to think 3 steps ahead in life-threatening situations. Millfield Road was the most dangerous part of Kenny's route under normal conditions, a winding stretch that descended toward the elementary school with steep embankments on both sides. In icy conditions, it became exponentially more hazardous, requiring precise speed control and flawless judgment. Kenny had driven this section thousands of times, but never in conditions this treacherous. As Kenny began the descent down Millfield Road, he felt the first indication that something was wrong. The brake pedal felt softer than usual, requiring more pressure to achieve the same stopping power. His combat-trained mind immediately began calculating alternatives, while his hands maintained perfect control of the steering wheel, knowing that panic was the enemy of good decision-making. "Stay in your seats and hold on," Kenny called back to the children, his voice calm but carrying an authority that made even the most talkative kids immediately quiet. They heard something in his tone that they had never heard before, not the hesitant voice of an aging bus driver, but the command presence of someone trained to lead others through dangerous situations. Kenny pumped the brakes gently, trying to maintain control while the bus continued to pick up speed on the icy descent. The hydraulic system was failing, and he could feel the vehicle becoming harder to control with each passing second. His Vietnam training kicked in automatically, prioritizing the safety of his passengers over his own, while calculating tactical options for survival. Ahead of them, the road curved sharply to the left before crossing a bridge over Miller Creek. If Kenny couldn't regain control of the bus before reaching that curve, they would either crash into the guardrail or plunge down a 30-foot embankment into the frozen creek below. 32 children were depending on decisions he would make in the next 60 seconds of crisis. Instead of panicking, Kenny's mind shifted into the tactical mode that had saved lives in Vietnam. He began using engine braking, downshifting to reduce speed while steering toward the shoulder where snow might provide more traction. "Kids, I need everyone to get down low in your seats and hold on tight," he commanded, his voice steady despite the life-threatening situation they faced. The children, sensing the seriousness in Kenny's voice, immediately followed his instructions without question. Something in his tone convinced them that this wasn't the time for jokes or complaints. They could feel the bus sliding slightly as it descended the icy hill, but they trusted their driver completely, not knowing that his Bronze Star had been earned in situations just as dangerous as this one. Kenny spotted a small access road about 200 yards ahead, a dirt path used by utility crews that led up a gradual incline rather than down toward the bridge. It would be a difficult maneuver in these conditions, requiring precise timing and complete commitment, but it offered their best chance of avoiding a catastrophic crash that could kill or injure every child on the bus. "Hold on, everyone. We're going to take a little detour," Kenny announced, his voice maintaining the calm authority that had once directed soldiers through combat situations. He began the turn toward the access road, using techniques he had learned for controlling heavy vehicles in difficult terrain, applying just enough steering input to change direction without losing control completely. The bus slid sideways for a terrifying moment as Kenny executed the turn, but his experienced hands corrected the skid with microsecond precision. The vehicle's momentum carried them up the incline of the access road, where the combination of upward slope and looser gravel provided the traction. They needed to finally come to a controlled stop about 50 yards from the main road. For several seconds after the bus stopped, nobody spoke. The children sat in stunned silence, beginning to understand that something serious had just happened. Kenny remained behind the wheel, his hands still gripping the steering wheel as adrenaline coursed through his system, the same way it had during combat operations in Vietnam, when split-second decisions meant life or death. "Is everyone okay back there?" Kenny asked, turning to look at his passengers with the same protective concern he had once shown for wounded soldiers under his care. The children nodded silently, some beginning to cry as they realized how scared they had been. Kenny's voice softened as he spoke to them with the gentle authority of someone who understood trauma and its effects. Within minutes, emergency vehicles began arriving in response to Kenny's radio call for assistance. Paramedics checked every child for injuries, while a mechanic examined the bus and confirmed what Kenny already knew: complete brake failure that could have resulted in a fatal accident, if not for the driver's quick thinking and exceptional vehicle control under impossible conditions. School Superintendent Dr. Patricia Williams arrived at the scene 30 minutes later, expecting to find chaos and injuries. Instead, she discovered 32 unharmed children and a bus driver who had somehow managed to avoid disaster through skills that seemed far beyond those of an ordinary school employee. "How did you know what to do?" she asked Kenny with genuine amazement. Kenny looked at Dr. Williams for a long moment, then quietly removed his bronze star from the glove compartment where it had remained hidden for 18 years. "I learned a long time ago that when people are counting on you, you don't give up," he said simply. "These kids trust me to get them home safely, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, every single day." Dr. Williams stared at the medal in Kenny's weathered hands, reading the citation that described actions taken under enemy fire in Vietnam to save the lives of fellow soldiers. Suddenly, every complaint about his slow driving, every criticism of his cautious approach, every suggestion that he was too old for the job took on an entirely different meaning. "Why didn't you ever tell anyone about this?" Dr. Williams asked, gesturing toward the bronze star. Kenny carefully placed the medal back in the glove compartment. "Because being a hero isn't about the medal," he replied. "It's about doing your job every day like lives depend on it. These kids are my mission now, just like those soldiers were my mission then." News of Kenny's actions spread quickly through the Millfield community. Parents who had complained about his driving came to understand that his caution had been protecting their children all along. The kids who had made fun of his slow reflexes realized that those same careful movements had saved their lives when it mattered most. Kenny became a local hero overnight. But Kenny's response to the recognition was typically modest. "I was just doing my job," he told reporters who wanted to interview him about the rescue. Every school bus driver has the same responsibility to bring these kids home safely to their families. The only difference is that I had some training that helped me handle an emergency situation. The children on bus number 47 never looked at Kenny the same way again. They stopped complaining about his careful driving and started paying attention when he gave them safety instructions. Some of them asked their parents about Vietnam and what it meant to earn a Bronze Star. They began to understand that heroes don't always look like what they expect. Kenny continued driving bus number 47 for 3 more years before finally retiring at age 72. During his retirement ceremony, every child he had ever transported was invited to attend, along with their families. The school district renamed the route Rodriguez Route in his honor, ensuring that future generations would remember the veteran who had protected their children. In his retirement speech, Kenny spoke directly to the children he had served for 18 years. "Remember that real courage isn't about not being scared," he told them. "It's about doing the right thing even when you are scared, especially when other people are counting on you. That's what it means to serve others, whether in war or in peace." Years later, many of Kenny's former passengers would tell their own children about the school bus driver who had saved their lives with skills learned in Vietnam. They spoke about the importance of recognizing heroes who serve quietly, without seeking recognition or praise. Kenny had taught them that real strength often comes disguised as ordinary service. The bronze star that Kenny had kept hidden for 18 years was eventually donated to the school district's memorial display, where it serves as a reminder that veterans continue to serve their communities long after their military service ends. His story became part of the school's curriculum, teaching students about sacrifice, service, and hidden heroism. Kenny Rodriguez passed away peacefully in 2018 at the age of 78, surrounded by family and former students who had never forgotten the man who had protected them during their most vulnerable years. His funeral was attended by hundreds of people whose lives had been touched by his quiet dedication to service and his unwavering commitment to bringing children home safely. At the funeral, one of Kenny's former passengers, now a teacher herself, spoke about the lesson he had taught them all. "Mr. Rodriguez showed us that being a hero isn't about fame or recognition. It's about showing up every day and doing your job like lives depend on it, because sometimes they do." He was our guardian angel in a school bus driver's uniform. Today, school bus number 47 still serves the Millfield Elementary route, driven by younger hands, but carrying the legacy of a Bronze Star veteran who understood that protecting children was just another form of military service. Every driver who takes the wheel knows they're following in the tire tracks of a true American hero who never stopped serving. Kenny Rodriguez proved that heroism doesn't end when the uniform comes off. It continues in every act of service, every moment of protection, every choice to put others' safety before your own comfort. Sometimes the most important battles are fought not on foreign soil, but on icy roads where children trust you to bring them home. Subscribe to honor all the hidden heroes serving among us every day.